Who's your favorite monster from television, film, or literature? I want to know about it live. Greetings, people of the internet. I'm Scott with CircleWorks Art Labs. Welcome, mad creators, to the underground laboratory where we create robots, alien zombies, and other imminent threats to humanity. And those other threats can come in all forms, but one of those forms would be monsters, and that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to do this live. So I want to know what your favorite monsters are. I'm gonna tell you what mine is, but first I want to give you a little hint because I got a little. Before we get to the drawing, I got a little unboxing I want to do. This is from a friend of mine, Mike Fleming Jr., who is a sculptor. This is part of a Kickstarter, or actually, I think it's an Indiegogo that he ran, a crowdfunding that he did. Something I've been waiting on for a long time. So I'm super excited to get this. So I figured, why not open this in front of you guys and have you share that experience with me. I will try to make it quick so we can get to the drawing. Hopefully this is okay, because as you see, it says fragile all over the place, and this is something that is very fragile. But in this, it contains something with my favorite movie monster. Okay, so we got Mike's thing. Thanks, Scott. Thank you, Mike. Well, this is going to give it away right here, but I'll go ahead and give it away. So this right here is probably my favorite movie monster, the creature from the Black Lagoon. I think this character was designed so long ago, and it is still, I mean, this character design just still holds up and everything. And I think that's probably what I'm going to end up drawing today, my version. You know, maybe we'll change it around a little bit, but it's kind of hard to improve on this because it's such a great character design. But what I've got here is, this is going to be really cool, is a mug, a ceramic mug that Mike sculpted. And look at this. Look at that. Isn't that awesome? So I am going to leave a link in the description. I assume that Mike is selling these other than just through the Indiegogo that he ran. And I think the way Indiegogo works, I think it's a little different from Kickstarter, where you can continue to sell even after your campaign's over. So whatever the case is, I will leave a link to that. But yeah, check that out right here. And then on the back, we've got this awesome logo. Now the thing is, I don't know, you know, because sometimes I'll use coffee mugs and things. I can't, this is out of shot, but you know, I'll put, you know, pencils and things, because that way it kind of more of a display thing. But I don't know if I want to drink out of this or use this sort of to hold something, because I don't drink a lot of coffee lately. I mean, sometimes I'll get a coffee, but because I like the cream and sugar so much, the calories kind of skyrocket. If I liked it black, then I would drink coffee all the time, because it's a good pick-me-up. But I don't drink coffee as much as normal. So I'm just wondering what to do. But you know, that's neither here nor there. I just wanted to kind of show you this, show you what my favorite creature is. And a close second would probably be Frankenstein. But there's so many great creatures out there, and I want to know what your favorite creatures are. Let me know. We'll talk about it while I'm doing this drawing. And so let's go. Let's not waste any more time. If you want, check out that link. Check out Mike's stuff. But let's get to the drawing.
All right, check 1, 2. Can you let me know in the chat if you can hear me, because this is sort of round 2. I had some issues with the audio the first time around, so I'm hoping that I fixed the problem, but I don't know if okay, you guys can hear me? Okay, great. So yeah, the first time, I don't know what happened, but my microphone was not working, and so this is sort of round 2. I'm going to go back and I'll delete the original one that wasn't working. So if you're watching this after the fact, you probably won't know the better, other than I'm just telling you. So we probably did lose a few people in the chat, but I do see some new people. So yeah, these are sort of impromptu. I've got to figure out a good time. I don't know what time the majority of people, and I know people are from all over the place and everything, so people have different times where they can view it and everything. So I don't know, but But so today we're going to talk about our favorite monsters from either movie or cinema or TV or literature or wherever. I kind of talked about mine. I'm going to be drawing mine, which is the Gill Man from The Creature from the Black Lagoon. And definitely check out, I've left a link to some of Mike's sculptures. He's got other mugs in addition to the Black Lagoon, Creature from the Black Lagoon sculpture. He's got, I think, a Frankenstein and some other ones. And he does some really cool sculpture. You should definitely follow him if you're not. I know on Instagram I saw that he's working on like a caricature of Hopper from Stranger Things, and it came out really cool. So yeah. But if you were watching before, you'll notice the intro is the same, and you'll see the drawing. And just to let everyone know, this isn't like a Milli Vanilli situation. I'm pretty candid with the fact that the intros are pre-recorded and the drawings of these are pre-recorded because I want to, what you're hearing now is live, me talking is live, but instead of, because sometimes when you're drawing, it's hard to pay attention to the chat and carry on a conversation and everything. So that's what I'm doing here. It's sort of an experiment, but I think people are digging it. But this just gives me the opportunity to pay a little closer attention to the chat. So that's what's going on. So speaking of the chat, we got some people in the chat. We got Salazar Art Nation. We got eShirt Labs. We've got Tally in the chat. We've got Paul in the chat. Yeah. So let's see what we've got here. We'll see some of our favorites. And Paul says he's from Albuquerque. That's great. I've been there, I think only once I've been to Albuquerque, but I definitely like to get back to New Mexico. There's so many places that I want to go. And it's not that far. I'm in Arizona, so it's not too far from where I am. But, yeah, so first off, and it's funny because the first time I did this stream, I was like spitting fire, and then it's like no one's hearing it. So, but one of the things that I wanted to mention about what I'm drawing here before we kind of get to your favorites in the chat and everything, typically the way I do these live streams is I'll do, I'm not. This is going to be a little different. In fact, because what I'm doing is obviously I'm drawing a creature from a movie. It's more of a fan art. Most of what I've done before have been like concept sketches or character designs, mostly from a fantasy game that my son is sort of developing. And for that, what I do is I'll do the artwork digitally in Clip Studio Paint, and then I will print that out in Blue Line, and then I'll ink it traditionally, and then I'll color them with markers. This one's going to be a little different. I'm going to do this whole thing digitally in Clip Studio Paint. So as much as I love, traditional inking, and moving forward, you're still going to see traditional inks and everything. I'm actually doing a new series that I think we're going to launch next Tuesday, assuming everything goes okay, but that's something that I'm doing with Marshall Lee from Marsh Makes Art channel. If you aren't familiar, definitely check out Marsh Makes Comics. He's changed it a few times, but it's currently Marsh Makes Comics. Definitely search that. We did this before where we did something called Take Me to Your Leader Tuesday. And basically every Tuesday, I think last time we did it for a month. This time we're going to definitely do it for a month. We may continue on, just depending. But every Tuesday, we just draw an alien, and we're inviting other people to contribute to that. And if you are an artist on YouTube, if you do take part in that challenge, the Take Me to Your Leader Tuesday challenge, and you post a video, let either Marshall or I know, and we will post. I think Marshall has a playlist. I know I have a playlist. So we will add that video to our Take Me to Your Leader Tuesday playlist. And so it should be pretty fun, and we just want to get people going. Marshall's channel is starting to take off now, so I think this time around we can get a lot more people involved and get people to do the challenge. So something to think about if you like drawing aliens and everything. And you don't have to. And it's not like a monthly challenge where you do it once a day every month. It's just Tuesdays, and it's kind of whenever you feel like it. If you feel like usually Tuesday is reserved for Taco Tuesdays, but if you don't have tacos prepped, maybe you just want to draw an alien instead. Or you could do both. But so we just kind of want to hopefully get this thing going, and you can do it any Tuesdays you want, and just post an alien drawing on Instagram or YouTube or whatever. But let us know about it. I think there's a hashtag which are the initials for Take Me to Your Leader Tuesday. there's that, or you can spell the whole thing out if you want to type in all that stuff. But anyway, so I'll get back to doing more of what I've done before with the marker rendering and the traditional colors. But I've been playing around with Clip Studio, and one thing I've always said is that I kind of prefer inking traditional, because I've noticed that a lot of artists, when they're drawing in inking digitally, it's like they'll make a swipe and it's like they don't like it and they undo and they do another one and they keep doing that over and over again. And to me, that meant that I could save more time inking traditionally, because when I put a line down traditionally, that's the line. I don't go back and undo, and I don't have to keep retrying the lines over and over. So I just thought it was really difficult to kind of get those lines right the first time. And I don't know if people are just being particular or picky or what, but I started testing out and doing some digital inking in Clip Studio, and I really liked the tool, and I didn't find myself having to redo lines all that often and everything. So I'm gonna start doing some more stuff digitally as well, inking. I mean, doing the whole process and everything, and that's what I'm gonna do with this one. So you're gonna kind of see something different that I haven't really done before, as far as inking just doing the whole process here in Clip Studio Paint, which is an awesome program. I stayed away from it for so long, and finally I just dove into it, and I still don't use probably even I'm only using a small portion of what this program can do, but because I started using it when I was creating comics, and mostly just the penciling part, for the comic book that I did for the 100 Days Anthology 2 and the cover and all that kind of stuff. So I kind of learned as I went, but I know there's still a lot more that program can do, and I want to start doing more. But right now I'm just doing sketches, which is pretty simple. You just open a page and just start sketching, and their tools are great. So yeah, that's what's going on right now. So yeah, you guys can see the process, but I've been neglecting the chat, and that's the one thing I said I wanted to avoid doing. So let me kind of go through here, and we're going to see. Salazar says, Dracula and Wolfman are my top faves. Frankenstein is also a contender since we share a name. All right, so I'm guessing it's Frank Salazar, is that correct? But anyway, so because I'm guessing it's not Frankenstein, but I don't know. But yeah, so those are definitely, I love the classic Universals. Dracula and Frankenstein Dracula and the Wolfman aren't necessarily my favorites. I love them all, but if I had to rank them, I'd probably, out of the classic Universal, let me see. And I don't know if this is just based on aesthetics or if this is based on the movies themselves. I did really like the Creature from the Black Lagoon movie, the original. I just thought the special effects, the way it's an old movie, and they did a lot of really cool stuff with the underwater scenes. They had the guy in the suit swimming underwater. This is before this is all practical special effects and underwater filming, and they did a lot of that stuff. And for back then, when that was filmed, that was really amazing. So I really do like the original Creature from the Black Lagoon. So he's aesthetically, and maybe the movies, he's probably my favorite. Next favorite would definitely be Frankenstein. And as far as Frankenstein, I think Bride of Frankenstein is probably a better movie, but the one thing I didn't really care for in the Bride of Frankenstein is some of the, I don't know if it's kind of like a B story, like a subplot or whatever with sort of the shrinking down the people into miniature. I didn't really care for that, but other than that, Bride of Frankenstein is an excellent movie, and of course the original Frankenstein's great too. So classic Universal. I don't know, I kind of like The Mummy too. I think he really holds up. It just, that look of Boris Karloff as the Mummy and everything, that was great. I've never been huge into vampires, but Dracula's kind of always got that cool vibe to him. There are some vampire movies I like. I definitely like werewolf movies. The Wolfman, and I do like Lon Chaney and everything. It was Lon Chaney, right? Or was it Lon Chaney Jr.? I forgot who played the Wolfman. But I like some of the later sort of iteration. And of course, you're taking into consideration that these are older movies and everything. But I think I think since then there's been a lot of really cool werewolves done that kind of, to me, I like better than the Wolfman. But I don't know if I could say the same as, I mean, they really haven't remade Creature from the Black Lagoon, and anytime they've remade Frankenstein, I just don't think I don't think visually it's looked as good as that classic Frankenstein look, from the classics. Of course, we're talking classics, so we'll get into some more modern stuff. So let's see. Paul Riviere says his favorite is Jeepers Creepers. So I like the creature from Jeepers Creepers, but maybe you can sway me on this. But the one thing that I didn't really like about Jeepers Creepers, that I didn't really understand, and maybe there's some logic to this, and maybe you guys can let me know in the chat, but in Jeepers Creepers, the creature could fly, but he was driving around in a truck, and it just seemed very odd. I don't know why he would be driving around in a truck if he could, fly, and I think him flying and capturing his prey or the victims or whatever, I think that's a lot more menacing than, I mean, of course if I was being chased down by a truck like in Duel, like Steven Spielberg's first film, that'd be pretty scary too. But I don't know, I just think the creature itself was pretty scary. So let me know. I mean, I just didn't really, that kind of bothered me, the whole thing with him in the truck and everything. And I think I've only seen the first Jeepers Creepers, so maybe there's more to it if you watch some of the sequels and things like that. So we got IndieCom TV saying, hi-yo, how's it going? Tally says her favorite monster, let's see, has to be vampires, werewolves, and ghosts. Yeah, ghosts, there's been so many different iterations of ghosts. My favorite ghost is probably the ghost from Guillermo del Toro's Devil's Backbone. If you ever saw that, there's the kid. I don't think this is really spoiler territory, but he was killed by a gunshot to the head, and so he kind of walks as he's going, as he appears as an apparition. You kind of see this blood just sort of it's almost like he's underwater, and the blood is just. But you know how ghosts are sort of ethereal and everything, but you can kind of see the blood it's just kind of coming out of his head and just floating off into space. It's very eerie, but that's probably one of my favorite ghosts. So if you haven't seen Devil's Backbone, definitely check that out. Let's see. Am I drawing this Swamp Thing? No, this is actually the Gillman from Creature from the Black Lagoon. But Swamp Thing is an excellent creature design, and I think I haven't seen the new series. I don't know where I think it's on DC Direct or whatever, the DC. I don't have that, but and I unfortunately got canceled, I think, before it even aired, which is kind of a bummer. But yeah, I mean, I think even the early incarnations of Swamp Thing on film and TV, I think they really always did a good job with that character. It's almost like when they do a new one, how do they improve on it? Because say what you want about the movies or whatever, the previous movies, but say what you want about those, but the practical effects and the costume for Swamp Thing always looked really great, and he's one of those. And monsters, more than anything, I think they translate well from comic to screen or to television, depending. Where sometimes superheroes can be problematic with the costumes and everything. Although I do appreciate when they try to make it as close to comic as they can, but monsters they're pretty good at transitioning those from the page to screen. So let's see what we got. I'm kind of way back in the chat. We got a lot of stuff going on here. Yeah. So you guys answered my question before I did. Let's see. We got eShirt Labs. Just finished some monsters for a T-shirt. Awesome. Frankenstein, Dracula, Werewolf, Mummy, Frankenstein. Probably my favorite. Yes, I can't disagree with you there. I also like the Invisible Man. I don't know if that's necessarily considered a monster. I mean, he's kind of in that whole Universal Studios monsters. There's their version of the Phantom of the Opera. I'm trying to think who I'm leaving out. I mean, you can go really deep as far as the. I don't know if this is necessarily. I don't know if this is Universal, but there's the Metaluna Mutant. I forgot what that was from. I forgot the name of that movie. But there's all kinds of really cool stuff, and I've done a lot of different iterations of a lot of those classic monsters, and I'm kind of partial to those. I mean, once you get like, for me, those were sort of before my time, but like monsters when I was growing up, they kind of moved away from monsters, and it was more into like slasher films in the 80s. And I really never got into slasher films that much. I mean, I think aesthetically, I think Freddy Krueger's, and he's kind of cool. I like the look of him, but it's also kind of, to me, it's kind of odd with this. I mean, you get used to it and everything, and it's just iconic now. But at the time, it's like, it just seemed weird, like with the fedora and the sweater, and I don't know. I mean, they definitely changed my perspective on this, but I don't really think someone in his sweater is that menacing. But that's kind of a good dichotomy, because he definitely, you look at his face and everything, he definitely looks menacing. But for me, those movies started getting a little corny and stuff, and for me it wasn't. I didn't really get into those, so I was like kind of, I was still into some of the classic stuff. And when something like Monster Squad came around, which, if you know me, the comic book I do, Young and the Dead, it harkens back to like Goonies and Monster Squad. And Monster Squad is really cool because they brought all those classic Universal Studios monsters back, but they didn't really have the rights to them. So even though characters like, Frankenstein and Dracula and all those, they're in the public domain, so you can use those. You can use those in whatever movies or wherever you want, but you have to put your own spin on them, just like you would a fairy tale. I mean, you can do a Cinderella story, or Snow White or anything, because those are from classic fairy tales, but you can't make it look like the Disney versions of those characters. Same with, like, you can't make, it's almost, Frankenstein's a weird one, because it's so iconic that even though the interpretation of Frankenstein that you are familiar with now, the one with the bolts in his neck and everything from Universal, a lot of people still do that. Like, you look on like Hallmark cards, and like any kind of Halloween decorations that feature Frankenstein are based on that look. So I don't really know where the line gets drawn, because in the original Mary Shelley story, he wasn't really interpreted like that. If you've ever read the Bernie Wrightson Frankenstein, one of the best illustrated horror comics ever. I mean, it's just amazing. But he didn't look like that. He was very cool, and I would like to see that version on film, to be honest. And hopefully, eventually, I know Del Toro is a huge fan of that Frankenstein and he owns a lot of the original pages. I saw a lot of them. I saw a lot of them in person at a Guillermo del Toro show. When I went to, I actually met Kevin Cross, and we both went to this exhibit in California. And Kevin Cross, if you're not familiar, created the 100 Days of Making Comics and all that. But anyway, so we went to that thing. We got to see, it was amazing. And there's actually, if you do some digging in my channel, you have to go back. But there's a really good video where I go through, and when we just go through that whole exhibit, because we were lucky enough when we first went there. We went on there like the opening weekend, I think, or opening week, and they allowed us to film. And after that, they said you couldn't film anymore. So we were lucky enough to get footage. So there's a really good video on my channel if you go back, and if just search, search Guillermo del Toro, Circworks, and you might find that. But that's a great video. So again, getting away from the chat, so let me get caught up here. Yes, let's see. Salazar says he's been watching Marshall's stuff and getting ideas from him as well. Yeah, I mean, I can't wait to do this. I got some stuff going on with Marshall, and we're going to do some cool stuff. So some cool collabs and things like that coming up. But I'm just so happy for him, because he's been on YouTube for longer than me, and he's just like lately, he's just crushing it. So, and there's a lot of reasons for that. I might get into that when I do my drawing. I might talk a little bit more about that. What an awesome job he's doing. But so eShirt Lab says Drac is fun to draw, not a fan. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. There's been a lot of different interpretations of vampires, and I don't really know where I stand with the whole vampire lore. In some ways, I kind of like the more, like the Lost Boys type thing, where they're more monstrous. In some ways, I really do like the kind of suave, seductive vampire. As far as my love of vampires goes, because it's not up there with other monsters for whatever reason. I don't know why that is, but I think my favorite vampire movie was called Love at First Bite, and I think it was George Hamilton, who's known for his tan, I think. But when I was a kid, there was this comedy with Dracula. And it was just, I'm sure if I watched it today, it would just be goofy and silly. But that was always on cable, and I would watch that thing over and over again. So if you want, that might be, I don't know where you find that. It might even be on YouTube because it's kind of an older, kind of obscure one, but it's called Love at First Bite, but it's pretty good. Let's see. Oh, yeah. So Salazar says, fan of the werewolves in general, Silver Bullet was good. Yeah. Silver Bullet was one, and it was pretty much right up there with like that Love at First Bite, where I watched that thing over and over again as a kid, and it's kind of based on a Stephen King story called Cycle of the Werewolf, which I think I did some kind of fan art of that when I was a little kid. I think I tried to tell my own story in comic book form based on that, but I don't remember. I knew I did some stuff with it. But anyway, yeah, that's really cool. It's got Gary Busey, so how can you go wrong with that? And Corey Haim. There's some some silly stuff when you watch back, but up until that point, that was like my favorite. That was my favorite werewolf movie, I think. Plus, I was younger at the time, so it wasn't like I hadn't seen things like The Howling and there's so many monster movies that came out around there, and it wasn't until later that I saw like American Werewolf in London and stuff like that. I Am Saul says zombies are my favorite because everyone can turn. That is good. I think zombies are it's obviously I do a comic book about zombies, so zombies was something I kind of had to get into. And there's still, but I mean, I love the original Night of the Living Dead, and I still haven't seen. Is it Day? What's the one in the shopping mall? I haven't seen that, but I've got to watch it because it's like a classic too. But I've seen the original, and of course I got into sort of Walking Dead and everything like that. And but there's so many different ways you can go with zombies, all the way from the history where it started off as sort of like the Haitian sort of zombies that were controlled and had like mind control and stuff like that, and it kind of went from there. And then there's just a lot of different interpretations on where people take zombies, and I guess that can be said with almost any of these stories. Vampires, there's a lot of different ways you can do vampires and werewolves and stuff too. But I do. I mean, visually, I love the look of zombies, and that is one thing that, I mean, they're just kind of mindless walking around, and then when you get into the Romero stuff, eating flesh and things like that, I try to put a little different spin on mine, but they still, eat flesh and all that kind of stuff, but there's some differences there. But great stuff. So let's see. E-Shirt Labs, best ghost movie, The Changeling with George C. Scott. Yeah, I can't argue with that. It's been a while since I've seen that one, but that was a really, really good movie. Let's see. Yeah, definitely one of the best ghost stories. I like Poltergeist too. It's a little different. What's weird about Poltergeist is it was a PG movie, and it was like still, and back then it was a little different because I mean I think that was before PG-13. So nowadays it definitely wouldn't be a PG movie, but I think you can still, because they were talking about like how they want to make the new and just turn our attention to the drawing real quick, and I'll get back to what I was talking about. But this is we're definitely now into the inking process, and again we're inking all this digitally in Clip Studio, and I'm kind of liking what I do here. I really love this G Pen tool that's in Clip Studio, and I've made some of my own brushes and stuff too, and I think those are great. So yeah, but I play around with a bunch of different brushes and everything. But back to Poltergeist. Yeah, or what I was saying, but I think they're talking about the next Doctor Strange wanting to go more of a horror angle, and of course, Disney, at least in the Marvel stuff that they're doing now, they're not going to make a rated R movie, but I still am of the opinion that you can create a really scary story as a PG or PG-13. I don't know that. I know I think Del Toro just produced that Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. I haven't seen that, but that's PG. But I still think there's a lot of stuff you can do without going R. I mean, there's certain things that I think benefit from going R as far as horror goes, but I still think you can do some creepy stuff. Because to me, the scary stuff isn't so much the blood and guts; it's more the atmospheric horror. That's the kind of stuff that I like. So let's see what we got here. Paul Riviera says, I like Robert De Niro, but didn't care for... I've never seen that version of Frankenstein, honestly. I'm wondering. The Rocket Chair, yeah, that's a reference to the Cycle of the Werewolf. And Phil Rod says, Barry Windsor Smith illustrated Cycle of the Werewolf. I did not know that was Barry Windsor Smith. I knew that there was an illustrated version of that. And maybe that's what I was thinking. Maybe I didn't actually do fan art. Maybe I was just looking at some of that artwork. See, I'm going to have to revisit that. I think that one's kind of hard to come by. Maybe it's been reprinted. I don't know. But I think at one point it was kind of hard. So Dawn of the Dead. Okay, so it wasn't Day of the Dead. Dawn of the Dead is the one. Okay, Salazar says. All right. Tim Gillette. All right, sorry. Not Gillette. Guillemette says, sup. So what's up, Tim? Let's see. Salazar says, zombies would give me nightmares as a kid. Return of the Living Dead. I love Return of the Living Dead because it's more of a comedy. That's a great one. And that's the first, I think that's the first zombie story where they actually would speak, like brain, you know, they would say brains. And you don't get that in like a lot of the modern stuff. But in my comic, the zombies do actually speak. And it's more of a, I don't know if I'm giving too much away with Young and the Dead, but and this will be explained a little more in future episodes, but the thing to me with my zombies is that they're whatever your most I'm trying to think of how to explain this, primal need. That's kind of what the zombies, when they turn into zombies, that's what they're looking for. And your most primal need is usually hunger. I mean, you gotta eat to live. So that's kind of, so in that it's kind of like brains, and they'll say other things like flesh and things like that, or just things that are like, I don't know, synapses or something popping off in their brain, just things that they don't really understand, but they kind of remember from their formal time of being alive. So they'll say like one word phrases, things like that. But as we go on, and this may happen in the next issue, which I haven't started writing yet, but I'll start around the first of the year. But you may start to see other interpretations in my story of zombies who, for whatever reason, that might not be, you know, the first thing when they turn that they're thinking about. So they may have another, you know, primal need that even outweighs the hunger, and that may come into play. I don't want to give too much away now, but anyway, so I'm playing around with sort of the zombie lure with my stories, but just a little, not really a spoiler, but a kind of insight of what you might be getting in future episodes, which I shouldn't probably say because it's going to be a while before I get the next issue out. But now that I'm doing more digital stuff, hopefully the process of the comic book will be a lot quicker. I'm definitely going to, I don't think I'm going to ink the next one digitally because I want them all to look the same, but I think I can do the pencils digitally, and then traditionally ink it. So according to anyone that's looking at it, it will look the same, but it'll take me a lot less time. All right. So let's see where we are. Charles D says, what's up? Let's see. I am Saul's. Ooh, sick. You're using the G pen. Yeah, I'm trying to get good at using traditional G pen. It's challenging. So is that when you say traditional G pen? So I'm not really familiar with what an actual G pen is. I just kind of, the first time I ever heard of it was as a tool in Clip Studio. So I'm not really sure. I'll have to either Google that, unless you guys want to let me know in the chat what an actual G pen is, like a physical traditional G pen. I've always inked with a brush, and I don't know if a G pen is more of a, like a, you know, why isn't this coming to, like a crow quill or something? I'm guessing it's, I'm not sure, but I definitely want to know, because I use either brush pens or brushes. I've never could grasp, and again, I think if I would have stuck to it, I think I could have kind of mastered crow quill if I stuck to it long enough. But as soon as I picked up that brush and played around and I practiced with that, I just ended up liking it. To me, it seemed to be easier. Other people might tell you the exact opposite. I always get comments that I have good control of the brush, which I've seen people that have way more control of the brush than me. Sometimes I get a little wobbly lines that I don't really like. But to me, I definitely have more control over a brush than I would a crow quill or something. Let's see. So we're naming favorite movie monsters. Yes, Charles D. Yes, that's what we're doing. So what are your favorite movie monsters? Let me know. Salazar says, hurts to be dead. Send more cops. So I have to admit, I assume that's a reference from a movie. And if it's a movie I've seen, I don't remember the reference. And if it's a movie I haven't seen, then I haven't heard that reference. So you'll have to remind me. And it could be like a movie that I've seen a million times and I just don't get that particular reference. So Fogbreaker Studio says Anti-God, Prince of Darkness. Never really saw it, but intense. The Anti-God from Prince of Darkness. I don't know if I've seen Prince of Darkness though. That's a Carpenter movie, right? And I'm a huge Carpenter fan. But there's certain movies that I started watching. Or maybe I have seen Prince of Darkness. Maybe it's just been a while. But I love Carpenter. I think that's a Carpenter movie. But The Thing is like one of my all-time favorite movies. And Escape from New York and Big Trouble in Little China, the original Halloween. And even though I'm not really a slasher fan, I do like the original Halloween. But for my money, you can't go wrong with like The Thing or Escape from New York. Those are like favorites of mine. Let's see. So Tally says, would evil spirits be considered monsters? Sure, of course. Any kind of menacing. It doesn't have to be straight horror. We can dive into sci-fi. I mean, I think when I say that my favorite creature design is the Gillman from Creature from the Black Lagoon. And when I think about it, it might not be totally true because I think just the original xenomorph from Alien, the H.R. Geiger design, that may be the best horror monster in my mind because it is so different from. There's nothing. I mean, there may be things since then that have kind of taken that and kind of done different things, but that original concept, and like I'm a big Geiger fan or Giger, I don't know how you pronounce it, but. His stuff is just so bizarre, and it's horrific, and it's in a lot of ways it's really sexual, but it's really out there, and it's all gray like washes and things, and his stuff is just amazing, and his design of that xenomorph alien from the original Aliens. I mean, it's really there's no other monster before that like that. It was it's so iconic and everything. So that could be my favorite. But I kind of wanted to go just since we were talking about, since I had the cup and everything, the mug. If you watch the beginning of the video that I got from Mike, again, his Etsy shop link is in the description if you want to get some cool, sculptured mugs and different things. Definitely check that out in the description. But yeah. I think any creature, whether it's from sci-fi or whatever, there's a lot of really cool sci-fi monsters too, and I even like some of the B-movie ones and everything. So yeah, it's from Return of the Living Dead. Okay, it's been a while since I've seen Return of the Living Dead, but yeah, that does make sense that that's from Return of the Living Dead because that sounds like something that would have been uttered in that movie because it's just so ridiculous. But I love it. Let's see. I Am Saul's answers my question. The G pen is a nib that manga. That's probably why I didn't know. Manga artists use in Japan, used professionally. Besides that, a Maru pen is like a crow quill that many American comic artists. It's finer. Okay, I'm definitely gonna have to check that out because I'm always looking for, and if it's more of a pen, I'm looking for a decent pen that's it's sort of in between like a micron and a brush pen, where it's got some of the stiffness of a micron, but it can bend and give you some different line weights. I know if you watched my inking art hack video, my friend, hold on a second, I gotta get a drink. My friend Vincent DePorter, who's an amazing cartoonist, he kind of showed me how to break those micron pins. So, and I kind of show in the video how to do that too. So you can get some differing line weights from a micron pen, but there's got to be better pens, and maybe with that's what the G pen is. So I'm gonna have to look that up. I mean, I do use a lot of Japanese brushes, like brush pens. the kiritaki and like the fude pins and things like that. I do like those, so I definitely want to check it out. And I love a lot. I mean, I don't know what it is, but the Japanese just have better tools for making comics, like ink. Once you use Japanese ink, it's like, I don't know why they can't in other, in the Western world, why they can't make ink like the Japanese make, because it's just way better, in my opinion. So let's see. Phil Rott says, we just covered They Live on my podcast. Oh, what's your podcast? Shout it out here. I might have to check that out. Yeah, They Live. They Live is fun. I mean, it's like, as far as Carpenter movies, it does kind of go in sort of it's kind of after like Big Trouble and everything. So it's kind of got that, and I definitely like the concept, and I like the movie, but it's definitely not a serious take. But it is a great movie. I do, and that fight scene that just goes on forever is just. It's awesome and hilarious all at the same time. But yeah, I love that. And Jake Megabyte says, I agree, H.R. Giger's Alien is visionary. Yes, I mean, there's this, like, once that came on the scene, it was like what are we doing? Why do anything else? And there's so many things after it, like, I don't know, man. It's like, it's hard to top that. I think in some ways I do like the creature, like the Demogorgon from Stranger Things, but other than the head, it's kind of basic. I mean, it's kind of just your basic creature, but that's kind of cool with but even that's kind of based on other things. If you've ever seen, like, I just recently read Dune, and if you watch like I can't think of his name. Who directed? David Lynch. If you watch the old David Lynch Dune, which is kind of a trip, but the way the sand creatures, their mouths work, similar to the like Demogorgon head, but I do still kind of like that because it is a little different. So Salazar says Doctor Who has some real. Oh yeah, and they have some creepy monsters. The weeping angels. I can't even show a picture of a weeping angel to my girlfriend, and she, like, as a joke, I got her. I bought like this chibi version, like a print of the weeping angel, and gave it to her. And even that, she was like, no. I mean, but she loves Doctor Who and everything. Actually, we had Russ from Black Belt on Russ Leach on a recent Artcasters, and he actually drew some of the I think more recent the Peter Capaldi Doctor Who comics. So yeah, the dialects are cool, the Weeping Angels, and just some of their they do really have some creepy ones, especially the newer incarnation of the Doctor Who and everything. So I am getting a little close to getting ready to wrap this up. So I definitely want to I want to check out this real quick, see if I can wrap up some of these contents. The fight scene is funny as hell. Okay, Brokebot Mountain. I wonder if I've heard of that. That sounds familiar. I'll definitely have to check that out. So you guys just talk about horror flicks and stuff, or is it anything? Or so Mitch O'Connor. This is a eShirt Labs. Sorry. We're getting close to wrap up, so it might cut off on me. Let's see, because it's going to roll directly into the pre-recorded outro. He's crowdfunding. The chat's moving faster than I can. They live with. Did an illustration of They Live with Trump's hair. That's funny. He's a crowdfunding to try to get posted on billboards across the Trump Tower in New York. Yeah, that would be funny. Yeah, Russ Leach caught that live stream. It's hilarious. Dragons are my all-time. Dragons are. I mean, there's so many different ways you can go with dragons. Dragons are awesome. Let's see. Mostly watch supernatural and anime. This is Tally. Is it Bleach has also, and The Hollows, which are one of my favorites, and I'm not so familiar. My son's been trying to get me into more manga stuff. And the problem is a lot of those they go on forever. I just don't have time to invest in some of these longer manga. But with stuff he showed me, I really like. Like I liked, what's the big one now? My Hero Academia. I like that, but it's just some of these shows are just, if it's more than 8 episodes, it's like I can't invest the time. I'd just rather be drawing and stuff than watching TV. It's just me. Okay, so the Brokebot Mountain started as a Westworld podcast. Okay, cool. Yeah, I watched the first. I haven't seen the second season of Westworld, but I did like that, and there's some creepy stuff in there too. Even the beginning where they're showing sort of how, I really like their interpretations of how they create I don't know if they're considered robots or synthetics or whatever, but that with kind of in the intro, that intro with sort of the white thing, and you see the horse where it's kind of like, you see the kind of how it's made up. That's really cool. I love that look and everything. Okay, so yeah, I mean, we're getting close to the end, but yeah, I mean, chats, I do appreciate everyone in the chat. This is awesome. I'm gonna take another drink real quick, especially since we're off to such a bad start, because when we first started this stream, we had some major technical difficulties where you couldn't hear me or anything. Let's see, I Am Saul says, dip pens have been really fun and great challenge to ink and draw with. Yeah, I love, well, I don't know if, I just haven't gotten into the dip pens, but I definitely like the dip brush and everything. And my favorite ink is the Deleter Black number 4. I was using the number 5, but the number 4 is more of a matte finish, which I really like, and that's a Japanese ink, and I love that stuff. So, but I am digging this digital artwork. You know, I'm kind of liking what I can get with the G Pen here in Clip Studio Paint. It's pretty awesome. And Herman was a great monster. Yeah, I love Herman Monster was great. Yeah, Fred Gwynn was great in that. So. Yeah, so again, thanks to everyone in the chat. Just a few more touches on this thing before I wrap it up. Oh, you know what? I still have a little time on this because I forgot that the problem is I can't see, because again, full disclosure, the drawing is pre-recorded, but I'm talking live. So, but I forgot I am going to add some more. I'm going to add some more blacks and things. So we do have a little more time. So if you guys get your favorite monsters in and stuff, and we'll try to see if we can't answer some of these questions and get to them. Let's see. Fun stuff, Scott. Not off on Wednesday usually, but if it's posted later, that will work. Okay, awesome. Yeah, that's good to know. That's probably in from my earlier question where I kind of wanted to know when people are and of course, you can't make it work for everyone. But I don't know if it makes sense to just do I usually do these sort of in the morning and everything. Thursdays are pretty busy for me, even though, it was a real setback when that first stream didn't work, because I thought, oh, I'm going to put this thing out there and then I could get to my other stuff. And then it was an hour of me trying to figure out what was wrong with my microphone, which I still don't know what happened. I just know that I played with some stuff and eventually got it working again. My favorite was the orange red-haired monster from the Bugs Bunny cartoons. That's that only fan. So that creature's name is Gossamer, and I'm a fan of that creature too. That was awesome. Bugs Bunny combing his hair, and oh man, I love the old Looney Tunes, man. So Gossamer is a great one. I didn't even think about going full cartoon, but that's a great one. Let's see. Salazar says, I used to watch Fred Gwynn in Car 54. Where are you? Oh, I definitely know he was in that. And also, as far as horror goes, he was in the original Pet Sematary, the first one, which on further watch, I just watched the remake, and I think the remake was way better than the original. So I think, I thought it was really great. They did kind of stray a little bit, but I think the choice that they made in the new Pet Sematary was for the better. I think I really did like that version of it. So let's see. Never knew the name. Thank you. You're welcome. That's in response to Gossamer. Yeah. So if you just Google Gossamer, you'll probably find him. He'll probably pop up. T-shirt Art Lad says, I will hug him and love him and call him George. I think, was that the same one or is that a different one? I think that's a different. I think those are the two dogs. Wasn't it the two dogs? I can't remember, but I don't think that was from the Gossamer one. The other one, speaking of Looney Tunes and horror, that's super hilarious, is the one where Bugs Bunny meets Dracula, and he keeps turning back into the vampire keeps turning back into the bat in the most inopportune moments and gets smashed and everything. That's a classic where he's going through he goes up to the castle and Bugs Bunny goes up to the castle. That's a classic one too. the abominable snowman. So any particular version of that. I mean, I do. I love all that, and obviously we just did a whole anthology comic about cryptids and things like that. And I must have a thing for like sea creatures, because mine, it didn't have the creature from the Black Lagoon, but it definitely had a sea creature in it. But yeah, so there were, the cryptids and stuff. There's some great ones. I mean, we could do a whole separate episode just of cryptids, and maybe we will do this one, because this one seemed to be like a popular one. It was with Daffy and Bugs. Okay, all right, yeah. Hey, I got to go back and watch some Looney Tunes, man, because I love that stuff. My favorite Looney Tunes of all time. And this is getting off. I won't get too much into this because this has nothing to do with horror. But Roadrunner, Wile E. Coyote, favorite of all time. I think that's why I started doing like a mad science. If you guys aren't familiar with the channel, it's basically. It's kind of centers around mad science, and you saw in the beginning, if you were watching in the beginning, it's in an underground lair, and I've got the lab coat. But my whole idea for creating a mad science supply company was I saw all these people, or not all these people, but I always wondered, all these mad scientists and evil villains, super geniuses in movies, where do they get all this stuff, all these inventions, the parts and the things, and like, how do they decorate their underground lair and all that stuff? And there wasn't anything like that, so I figured I'd just do it myself. But part of that was like, same thing with like Wile E. Coyote and Acme. I mean, there wasn't really an Acme. There's not really an Acme where you get all this crazy stuff. But I thought it'd be fun if there was a place where you could buy like mad science supplies. So that's kind of why I created this whole brand that I'm doing. But anyway, so little segue there. Escher Art Labs, drawing Outer Limits monsters. Man, I gotta go. I gotta go and check out your stuff again. I know I've checked it out before, but I definitely want to revisit it because you're drawing all the cool stuff. Outer Limits, man, I haven't seen, like, I got to revisit Outer Limits too. I definitely remember the intro where it's like, do not adjust the vertical or the horizontal. And I was definitely more of a Twilight Zone fan, but I do like sci-fi. So I'm going to have to revisit Outer Limits because I've only seen a few of them. And I think, I assume like Matheson, I think he did a lot of writing on that. He's like an awesome writer. I'm trying to remember, was it Robert Matheson? I forgot his first name. But yeah, excellent science fiction writer. And I love anything with a twist ending, as long as it's a good. If it's a lame twist ending, no. But I just love the twist endings or the things that make you think and things like that. So, okay, Salazar Art Nation says that would be a good stream with cryptids, Nessie, Mothman, Jersey Devil. Yeah, maybe we'll do something like that in the future. Probably next time we'll go back to doing another, traditional with markers and stuff like that, because I got to get back to doing some more creature design. Abe Sapien just popped in the chats. Hey y'all, nice monster. Thanks. Yeah, creature from the Black Lagoon. So Abe, we got a little more time, not too much, but let me know what your favorite monster is, Abe, in the chat. We're talking about our favorite monsters from either literature, cinema, TV, and it can be sci-fi, it can be horror. We were talking a little bit of cryptids, but we might do an episode just on cryptids. Especially, I think once the Abe Sapien says Chud, the cannibalistic humanoid underground dwellers. That's a good one. I'm going to have to rewatch that one too. Man, you guys are all... I'm going to have to start doing my homework because it's been a while since I've seen any of these movies. Yeah, let's see. I'm trying to think as far as movies in general or just... or aesthetically. We talked about aesthetic-wise. I think Xenomorph and Creature from the Black Lagoon. But it's just as far as being scary. I don't know. To me, I saw the original Alien when I was like way too young to be watching that, because it was kind of, they had the toys and everything, and it was almost like, oh, they got toys, then it should be all right. And so I don't know how old I was when I watched Alien. I would have been like maybe around 7 or something. I don't know how old I was, but I was definitely probably too young. But yeah, that was scary, even though, but in part of it, it's weird because the things that scare me most, I think, are the things that could like actually happen. And because I'm not likely to be in outer space on a Nostromo ship or anything like that, I probably wouldn't worry too much about aliens. But to me, it's the scary stuff is the stuff that could actually, happen to you. So even though I'm not a big fan of like slasher movies, But it's a lot. Most of it's just mostly the atmospheric stuff. Just that real eerie stuff that gives you a weird feeling, rather than just like, either gore or like jump scares and stuff like that. I mean, a jump scare will get me from time to time, but then it's always like, yeah, anyone can do that. That's kind of cheap. But I like the build up and everything like that, and just put you in this really weird feeling and everything. Psychological horror, eShirt Lab says. Yeah, definitely agree. The Exorcist, great movie. That's one of those movies that I watched way too late in life, and by that time everyone had mimicked it and taken it and done other things with it. And it's unfortunate with movies like that. If you see everything that's come after it, when it was the original, it's almost like that movie John Carter, which was it just totally bombed. But a lot of the sci-fi that we know, even Star Wars, all that kind of stuff, that story came before. Same thing with like Valerian, but Valerian, I don't know if it bombed. But I don't think it did as well as they were hoping, because it was sort of like an independent thing that, who was it, Luc Besson that did that, or I don't know. But those movies came before even Star Wars. But by the time they got around to making those movies, it's like, well, we've already seen a lot of this. Maybe not so much. I think Valerian introduced a lot of new things, but like with what was the one I was John Carter? It's like even like a lot of that stuff. Even you saw some of them do some of that stuff in like the prequels, Star Wars prequels, like in Episode 2, I believe, where they had like the arena and the creatures. It looked a lot like that, but when you think about it, the John Carter story and that whole thing came before even the original Star Wars, I believe. And that was Edgar Rice Burroughs, I think, who created Tarzan, who did John Carter. So sometimes when you watch things later, after people have taken it and gone different directions with that, it's not the same. So unfortunately, I kind of had that reaction to Exorcist because I'd seen so many possession movies after that. So I wish I would have watched that earlier, even though I saw The Omen when I was a kid, and that one scared me a lot. I guess I didn't see the whole thing, but my parents were watching. I kind of came down at this part where this guy got decapitated by a sheet of glass that fell off a truck, and that freaked me out as a little kid. So yeah, that's the first time I ever seen anything like that on TV. That really freaked me out, and I had nightmares about that afterwards. So, but yeah, that was just The Exorcist. Obviously, great movie, classic, and definitely probably top horror movie in a lot of people's lists. But just because I saw it later in life, it didn't have the effect on me that it probably would have if I would have watched it sooner. Let's see. Salazar says Audrey 2 from Little Shop of Horrors was favorite as a child. I love that. That's this whole Steve Martin thing is the dentist, and I've seen it actually. I've seen performances of that, a couple of them as plays and everything, and yeah, that's a good one. I love it. Abe says he made a sculpt of Audrey too. That's cool. Yeah, that's definitely a cool monster. And I think that was hints. I think was it Frank Oz. I wonder didn't Frank Oz direct that movie? I think he did the puppeteering. He may have even directed that movie, Little Shop of Horrors. I think it was. Abe says Texas Chainsaw Massacre originally freaked me out. I have to make a confession. I've never seen Texas Chainsaw Massacre. There was a point in time where I was listening to it. There used to be this great podcast called I think it was called Horror Etc. It was like, I don't know if it's still online, but if it is, you can go back and dig into some of those episodes. I wish they would still update it because they kind of pod faded, but man, that was an awesome podcast, and I really agree with a lot of what those two hosts said on their podcast as far as the kind of stuff they liked and what they were into. Yeah, they were kind of talking about Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and I wanted to watch it, and I just never got around to it, so maybe I'll have to do that. I do remember the poster for the second Texas Chainsaw Massacre, where everyone was they took the characters and they put them in the same poses as the poster from The Breakfast Club, which I thought was hilarious. And at first, I don't even know if I made the connection until later. I'm like, wait, they're posed exactly the same way as the Breakfast Club poster. Phil Rod says Frank Oz did direct that movie, and I think that's why the puppetry in the movie was so on point. Yeah, definitely. I mean, you can't beat. And I'm a huge Henson fan, and like, you know, Frank Oz, and yeah, I love that. So, and tomorrow. If you guys didn't know, tomorrow The Dark Crystal starts streaming on Netflix, and I'm going to be watching that for sure because I am a huge Dark Crystal fan, a huge Henson fan, a huge. I don't want to say I'm a huge Brian Froud fan, even though when I say that, it makes it things that I'm not. I'm just not. Other than Dark Crystal, I don't follow his work enough. But what I have seen of it is just like his stuff's just amazing. So yeah, that whole everything he did for Dark Crystal is just awesome. I gotta dig more into the history of his work and see some other stuff that he's done, because the stuff I have seen is just like, it's weird because there's people at least with me, there's people that I really like, especially comic book artists, but for whatever reason I've only seen certain things of theirs, and I know if I would just dive deeper I would just love everything else that they do. But yeah, so I can't wait for Dark Crystal. I mean, that was one that I saw in the theaters. I had they didn't have a lot of merchandising, but they did have trading cards, and I collected all the trading cards. And I remember I still got them somewhere in the attic, but I remember they were odd because they were the only trading cards I had ever seen, like movie cards, that had like rounded corners, like a playing card. And I just thought that was weird and unique and everything. But yeah, they had a purple border and round corners, and man, I used to love to collect those cards. I think the reason why they don't have the round corners is especially back then. And also you're basing them on like sports cards and baseball cards, which never had that. But you can't really do the puzzles with the rounded corners. Like in the backs, they used to have those puzzles that you would put together and everything. Those images, you just take all your cards and lay them out and build the puzzles with them. But man, I love Dark Crystal. So and this new one looks like they're doing stuff that they couldn't really do before. And they're still doing practical puppets. I know there is some CG involved, like especially the backgrounds, but that's not bothering me as long as the puppeteering and everything. Because I think, I'm not saying, you have to go full practical, but some stuff just works better as practical effects, in my opinion. And, and I just also want to see that puppeteering and everything. Just the way that I feel about, like the stuff Leica does with the stop motion, even though you can tell that it's not. I mean, maybe sometimes it's not as smooth as a CG or whatever, but and there are some CG stuff in there, like sometimes with the water and certain things that they do, but man, I do appreciate the practical effects, and so that's why I'm so excited to see this new Dark Crystal. Some people, their criticism and that's a little slower, that never really bothered me with the original, but I think this one's going to have a sort of a faster pace, more modern in that sense, modern storytelling, but with those practical effects and those visuals, man, I can't wait. I'm not gonna, and that's another one. Like I said, I think it's a shorter series, so I can jump into it. I can watch them, and I can get in on the ground level, and it's not this big time investment. I probably won't binge them because I don't have time, but I'm definitely gonna watch at least this weekend. I'm hoping to watch at least a couple, 2 or 3 episodes, and I'll just kind of let it play out because, some of the stuff I just can't. It's just too much for me to get into, even though I'm sure I'll enjoy it. But I try to stay away from too much TV because I got so much other stuff I'm doing. Salazar Art Nation says the OG Ghostbusters had some practical puppets with the Hounds. Yeah, there was a lot of. Some of that was practical and stop motion. And I'm also a big fan of Harryhausen. I love the original Clash of the Titans. That was like one of my favorite movies of all time. I want to say I had all the toys. I didn't have all the toys. I never got the Kraken. I wish I did. But other than that, I had most of the toys. Yeah, I love the Harryhausen stuff. But some of it you can look back and some of it. I mean, it's just that's one thing that I think could be improved a little bit. but I still do like the feeling. You can definitely see when things are done in stop motion. And I think that's one of the reasons, like when they first, I think the thing that really kicked everything off as far as CG was in a good way, I guess, is probably Jurassic Park, because I know they were originally going to do it stop motion and they just couldn't get it to look, because there is some choppiness to that stuff, and it's endearing to me. I love that style, but there are some drawbacks to that, so I can see why in some ways they would want to, but I think nowadays with the technology and stuff, I think even with stop motion that they could do some cool stuff. And again, the stop motion stuff that's basically what you're looking at with Leica. So that kind of stuff looks awesome, but it's almost like once you take a stop motion creature and you try to mix it in with the real world, at least the older stuff, you could tell. Like there was like the character in Clash of the Titans, Calibus. You can tell when he was an actor, and then when they pan away to him full body as a stop motion creature, you could tell the difference. But same thing with the Tauntauns in Star Wars, but I still love that the Ray Harryhausen stuff. And was it Phil Tippett who did the stuff for Star Wars, the stop motion for Star Wars? I don't remember. But yeah, that stuff, I love all that stuff. So let's see, I think I may have missed something here. Shirt Labs says CG can be a crutch to some stories. Yeah, I think that's what, like with anything. Use what works best for whatever. Don't just use all CG. If it doesn't make sense. The lighting, and obviously they get better and better and better. And there's some stuff, honestly, that I can't tell the difference. But I still love that practical look. It's just really hard to get perfect lighting when it's all artificial and everything. So, but they are getting really good with that stuff. But it's still I love the fact that they're doing all these traditionally with puppets and stuff. So I can't wait. I don't know if it's like midnight tonight that comes out, or which. Yeah, I don't know if I can do that because I'm doing Artcasters tonight on Josh's channel. After that, if it's midnight, I probably could watch an episode if it starts, or I don't know if it starts some other time. Because when they released Stranger Things, I was hoping to watch the first one at midnight, but it didn't come out. And I'm on Pacific time, which is the latest time zone here in the U.S. So I figure by the time it's midnight me, it should be midnight everywhere else. But it still didn't come out when I thought. So I don't know. I don't know what to see. But yeah, I'm super stoked about this new Dark Crystal. And hopefully I'm not psyching myself up, but from all the trailers, it just looks pretty amazing. So now we are getting close to the end. I think I'm going to draw some bubbles and stuff in here. So if you guys got any more comments, any other creatures that you like, let me know, because we're gonna be wrapping this up pretty soon, because I got a bunch of other stuff I got to get to. Let's see. Salazar says, I'll be checking out the Artcasters tonight after the mentoring class I attend on Thursdays. Oh, that sounds awesome. Yeah, I actually do. I have a mastermind session later today, so it's sort of like that's a mentoring thing too. So those are always great things to be involved in. So it's good to hear that you're doing something like that, because I'm doing that as well. I'm looking forward to this class, because they helped me out with my new Comic Maker Toolkit. They gave me some advice on that, and so far it's been doing pretty well on design cuts, and right now I guess I should do a quick pitch. If you go to just type in design cuts, and right now it should be on somewhere near the top, unless it just plummeted for crazy reason, but it's been one of their more popular products. If you want to get some digital tools for creating comics, I think you only got like a day or two before it moves from $17 to like $39, and then and after that, then I'll be launching it on my site and stuff as well. So definitely, check that out. I'll talk more about that on the Artcasters tonight. We've got David Chelsea, who wrote the book on perspective. So if you want to learn some great stuff about perspective, I've been reading his book just recently. So definitely want to check out Artcasters tonight. That'll be on Josh's channel. Should be a good show. But thanks to everyone in the chat. Yeah, this has been great. Thank you so much.
Okay, so there you go. Now you know a little bit about some of my favorite creatures, and I got to know a little bit about yours, and Yeah, moving forward, I know we kind of took a break from the fantasy RPG characters I was doing, but yeah, I want to do all kinds of these live streams and everything. So is there other stuff that you want me to draw on these live streams other than, you know, creatures or RPG characters or whatever? Is there something you want me to draw? And more importantly, are there topics and things like that you want me to cover on this live stream? Let me know in the comments section. Maybe we'll do one of yours, and I will see you guys later. That is all.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you like what you saw and you want to see more, hit that subscribe button. Also, you can follow me at CircWorks on social media. Do you like making comics? Then go to CircWorks.com and pick up the Comic Maker Starter Kit. It's packed full of fonts, brushes, templates, and more. And best of all, it's totally free.